Hey, what's up, YouTube? So, the transition or swap is fully complete. My character is now officially an Aura Stacker. The Bladefall Blade Blast build was pretty good overall. Like, it did all the content, did the Breach Lord invitation even. The only thing I was not able to complete on it was the Feared, and that's because I didn't want to try it yet because the risk was too great in case I died, because it's actually a pretty big risk doing it because you could easily die and lose like 5 6x or something like that. Now the ore stacker has been fully completed, and I'll go over the gear, I'll go over the gem links, the jewels and cluster jewels I'm using, and then I'll go over a brief overview of how to upgrade it, because right now there's some glaring issues right now. You can clearly see in the bottom left, this number starts with a 3, and that's not what you want to see. You want to see the number start with a 4, and even better a 5, and that's when you become truly tanky and unkillable. There's some very amazing things about the ore stacker, and I'll show you some short clips after that. In fact, it might probably be the best ultimatum character in terms of clearing ultimatums, and you can actually finish ultimatums in record speed. So let's get into it. So I sold off the ore stacker to a viewer of mine, and he paid like 11 exalts for it, and overall I think it was a pretty fair deal, although I kind of underestimated the price of my gems. I did not really factor that into the whole price. Now, the ore stacker transition was a little scuffed because of the price of voices. So voices was actually one of the last pieces I was trying to purchase because I thought it would be cheaper. But turns out that simulacrum was bugged or something, so that it wasn't dropping uniques. So the voices prices was actually 7.5 exalts, and there's like almost none up at the time I tried to swap. And a lot of people ask me, oh, could you use like large clusters versus voices? And the true answer is that without voices, your ES is going to be incredibly scuffed because you can't even take the node of here because you run out of points to take all the large clusters. You might have more damage on the large clusters, but as you can see, the ES value is already very, very low. So it's not really going to work out, at least at this gear level. For now, so let's go into the gear. I'm going to try to give a price check for each item as I go through it so you have a better idea of how much this build actually costs. So Nebulous, I bought it for 1 exalt, and it's just a multi that's well rolled. The Alpha's How, you can probably get this for like 35 to 50 chaos. That's about how much I bought it for. You just look for any 50% aura reservation. This amulet, I bought it for 1 exalt, and the synthesized amulet is probably like the way to go for now until someone makes a good awaken orb with a aura base. So usually like people were making in previous leagues a reduced reservation of skills combined with an aura so that they could save a gem slot. But without harvest crafting, that amulet is extremely hard to get. Now notice amulet right now is way more than 1 exalt, but 1 exalt is how much I bought it for. Now the shield, I bought it for like 2.5 exalts. I think Prism Guardians are slightly going down in price at least. And I got this implicit corruption because it helps against fizz damage. Now this shield right here is, I've been trying to get one with implicit, gives you level 23 grace because it saves you a gem slot, but I just can't find it for some reason. Like I don't know if it's removed from the game or what is going on, but it should be a lot more common than what it shows to be now, which is non-exist. But yeah, you can get this shield around for 2 exalts. Now this bring here is probably an insane amount. Let me see. I only bought this ring for 8 exalts, but yeah, it's like 45 exalts now. And this is only just having 1 aura on it, so this saves you a gem slot too. But you can get by with a ring that's only like 1 exalt without the implicit corruption. You do not need the aura to start off the build. The same goes for here. This one I bought for around 1 exalt. And this Asenath's Gentle Touch is like 5 to 6x, and probably a really good double corruption one is probably like 10x. I bought this for like 4.8x with the cards. I highly advise you trying to get the cards to get some good corruption. Maybe you'll get lucky with spell crit or ally weakness. Now this pair of belt, or this belt, is only 3 chaos, and the jewels inside of it, so this is just doubles the effect pretty much, or 75% increased effect to the sock of the jewels. I was using this to get 2 RMR jewels, but it turns out I didn't really need the reduced reservation. So I used just regular Abyss jewel with ES. As you see, like the belt is pretty good because this would give you like what, like 60 ES almost and 20 crit multi, and you can't really get that on a regular Stygian. So this jewel right here is pretty much the role of the Stygian, and it also gives you fire damage to spells. So I feel like Darkness Enthroned might be the best option unless you have an insanely rolled Stygian. Because the Stygians with like percent ES and flat ES, which is what I wanted to get, are like 4 or 5 exalts. Now Voidwalker is a pair that this would probably cost you like 1 exalt or less, and you just want to get +2 on them. I got +2 on it because I wanted to put my purities in here. But the purity is also in the helm because it's also +2. So I have 2 +2s, which helps out the aura situation a little bit. And that overall, all the gear is like relatively cheapish if you don't go for like the high end implicit corruption on the Call of the Brotherhood. And the 6-link shabs is how much did I buy it for? Like 7 exalts, so it's not too bad. So add it all together, it's probably around like 1 plus 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 15 to 20 exalts and unique items depending on what you get. So the unique items themselves are not too bad. And now we move on to the flasks. Flask, we have Aziri's Promise, Bottle of Faith, Cinder Swallow, Chemist Diamond Flask of Wardy, and Perpetual Quicksilver of Adrenaline. Now I think a Bottle of Faith is extremely expensive, like 8 exalts, and Cinder Swallow is probably like 2 to 2.5. But like some of this stuff has gone down slightly in price compared to when I bought it. So you have like 10 exalts for the flask, like 15 exalts, let's say, for the gear. So that's 25 exalts total for everything. And now let's move on to the next section, which is cluster jewels and jewels, the bulk of the cost. Well, not the bulk of the cost, but a majority of the cost. So, Aura Stacker is pretty much a cluster jewel and jewel class. And I can show you what I mean. So, pretty much, Aura Stacker tries to get these large cluster jewels to put in medium cluster jewels to put in jewels. So, it's just a bunch of jewels everywhere. So of course, if there's a bunch of jewels, it's going to make up a lot of the costs. Let's start with the large cluster jewels. I'll try to price it as I'm saying it. So this is a Burden Projection Essence Rush Practice Caster, which gives us ES Leech. Now this was only 15C when I bought it. This large cluster is Blast Freeze, Vengeful Commando, Widespread Destruction. Blast Freeze is actually extremely good because it helps you freeze. It prolifts the freeze around a radius, so everything is pretty much frozen in ultimatums. Now this jewel cost me around 1.5 exalts, but I think it actually goes for 4 or so. Now Voices, it just allows you to get 3 medium cluster slots, so you're able to get more aura effectiveness. This cost me like 7 exalts, but I think it's 4 exalts right now. So I lost like 3 exalts by buying this thing early when it was bugged. So now we have the medium clusters. The medium clusters, you need to have 2 First Among Purposeful Harbingers. You can also get Replenishing Purposeful Harbingers. So you just need 2 Purposeful Harbingers out of all your medium clusters. All the other ones you want First Among and Replenishing, First Among, Replenishing, First Among, Replenishing. And these are all like 1 exalt each, with the Purposefuls probably be like 3 or 4 exalts. Plus 5 passive points is actually the best, because until we get a Glorious Vanity, it's hard to know exactly what is on the... We don't have enough points to reach 300%, so we have to take the 3% travel nodes. But once we get a Glorious Vanity, we can drop some of them, and 4 passive points ones will be okay again. So then we have the jewels we put at the end. So you have 2 options for jewels at the end. The regular jewels, if you're not using Malagaros, you'll need crit multi. And so you will need multi and RMR. I have a lot of double multi RMR jewels. Double multi RMR. So you need like a couple of them. I think I have 6 of them total in my build at the moment. So 6 total. And those are pretty expensive. You get double multi RMR. They're probably like 5 to 6 exalts each. So I'm gonna show you a trick later on in the video for how you can go non-Mally's versions for cheaper. Because paying like 5-6 exalts for a jewel is pretty much unfeasible for most people. Yeah, but basically those are all the jewels. And then you have the unique jewels, which is Might of the Meek, Intuitive Leap, a Watcher's Eye. I don't know what my Watcher's Eye is. A Pure Talent. And Hazardous Research for Spark, which shoots the spark in a circle around you. And where's my Watcher's Eye? Did I even have one? Oh, I have Watcher's Eyes here. Okay, so like yeah, the Watcher's Eye. This is really cheap. I only got a crit chance with Wrath because I couldn't afford the Hatred one, and this was like one exalt. And then I got Might of the Meek. You can get RMR. It costs like 8.5x at the moment. Intuitive Leap is incredibly expensive. I think it's probably going to be at 12, 15 exalts to get RMR. So like these two jewels do not expect to get RMR on. And Watcher's Eye, you will not get RMR either. Pure Talent, you could probably get it. It will run you like 3 exalts or 4 exalts. This is actually more feasible. But the Might of the Meek and Intuitive Leap are more long-term upgrades in my opinion. And Watcher's Eye, you can obviously get a much better one than this one right now. And so you can see like the jewels make up a large portion of the cost. And the cost really varies because if you start picking up like RMR, Might of the Meek, and Intuitive Leap, that's already like 20 exalts or so in jewels. But overall, the cost is pretty even breakdown between the cluster jewels and the gear cost. And you can see that you pretty much need all of these items to work together because they all scale off one another to reach Aura Stacker. So that's why I say when you want to switch to the build, you should have bought all of the pieces of gear. Like I almost screwed myself over because I was missing like the voices and I could barely afford some of these medium cluster jewels because I couldn't reach 300% without 5 passive point ones. As you see, these ones I took all the points in the cluster jewel. So I think 5 passive point ones are the way to go, and they're the most reliable in terms of future proofing your build and making sure that you can also take the least amount of points to get to the jewel socket. No, I wanted to go over the gem links real fast since a lot of people ask about where to put the gems and where it should go. So basically, the 50% aura should always go into Prism Guardian. So I have Grace, Zealotry, and Wrath on the Prism Guardian. And for the Alpha's Howl, if you have a +2, you want to put the Purities in there, and the Purities need to be level 21. So usually you would have an Arrogance, Purity of Fire, Purity of Ice, and Purity of Lightning in the Alpha's Howl. Now, if you have over 300%, you don't need the Arrogance gem in. So instead of using the Arrogance gem, you would use other damaging auras. So I have Haste and Discipline, because the aura effectiveness is useless on Purity since you're already at the 90%. So you can see with Arrogance in, I have 3,537, but if I took Arrogance off, it only at 3379, and that's purely because of the Blood Magic Gem's aura effectiveness that it now gives, which is 25% increased aura effect. So that's actually pretty major. Now I am using Spark. So I have Spark linked to Awakened Cold Pen, Inspiration, Spell Echo, Arcane Surge, and Control Destruction. Now there's some argument to be made to use Pinpoint instead of Arcane Surge for single target and overall clear because of the plus this projectiles. And I do think that Pinpoint is not too bad because of ultimatums and you can just stand still AFK. And in the Nebulous, I have Clarity, Precision, and Shield Charge. I use Shield Charge as the movement skill. If you're doing a lot of bossing, I would advise you to use Flame Dash. It is much faster. Like doing Sirus with Shield Charge was actually kind of annoying to do, and it was really hard to actually move out of stuff in time. In the gloves, we have Herald of Ice, Herald of Thunder, Righteous Fire, and Malevolence. Malevolence is used for skill duration for Spark, and then Righteous Fire, you turn on the thing, and then you get 39% more spell damage for free. And Vault RF you can use on boss fights if you want to burst it down, but be sure to note that it will severely drain your ES almost all the way to 0, so watch out or you might die. But basically, that's all the gems that I use. So I only use one Blood Magic Arrogance link at the moment. And I have 2 +2s. So just make sure to put the Purities in the +2. And make sure to put the 50% auras in your Prism Guardian. And that is the most important thing to keep in mind. And that should be enough for you to cast all your auras. Now I wanted to talk about upgrade paths. So a lot of people ask me like, how do I improve the character? And I'm at the point where I'm like you guys, a beginner in the build. Like my build is in its infancy stage, so I can go over my thought process about how I want to do it. So right now you can see my ES is very low. It's 35 to 37. So how do you fix the ES? So one way is to empower the discipline, but that requires to get another gem socket. In order to get another gem socket, I would need to get like an aura on my Amulet or Ring or Prism Guardian. I think Prism Guardian might be a really cheap option if it actually exists. Now another option to get more ES is to get the Helm, because Alpha's Howl is not really needed with the Maven Orb. So here I've crafted a helm like this. So this has 7% reduced reserve and then increased percent ES and some multi. Now this helm will give me close to 4k ES, which would make it very comfortable. You can also get Unnatural Instinct RMR, which is actually relatively cheap, like 5 to 6 exalts, and it will give you like 15% ES, I think. Now with this helm, you lose the freeze immunity on Alpha's Howl, so that means you have to use one of these things, which is of immunity to freeze with some cold pen or hatred crit. So immunity to freeze while affected by purity of ice, and that should solve the issue. So I'm going to include in the better trading, so I added some extra stuff. So here's the Watcher's Eye freeze that we're looking for. As you can see, these are pretty rare, and this is mine and this is someone else's. So I put like, so any of these would work with freeze. So you pretty much just want to choose something that increases your crit chance or damage while also having the freeze, and that's only if you want to swap out of Alpha's Howl. Now swapping out of this will give you 200 ES. Now this helm is relatively easy to make. It's just a Maven Orb, Awaken Orb together with a crit multi. I actually bought this base for 4 exalts, but it comes without a helm enchant. But I think the helm enchant shouldn't be too bad because I can just run Uber Lab for it. Now there's a trick to get the ES rolls. As you can see how mine has 2 ES rolls. Granted they're kind of low rolled, but if you just craft on here, get suffixes cannot be changed. And if you get suffixes cannot be changed, and then you use this one, I saved one of these, Reforge. It won't change the RMR or the crit multi, and it'll give you 2 defense modifiers guaranteed. So if you can get percent and flat, and you can craft on hybrid, then your helm will have like 300 ES, and it's not that hard, and it only costs 2x per attempt. It is much more reliable to use this method than to buy Reforge prefixes while keeping suffixes, especially since the Reforge prefix costs like, what's it called, like 1 exalt by itself. So for 1 exalt extra, you can guarantee 2 defense modifiers on your helmet. So that's the way to go for crafting the helmet. No, I just wanted to play some quick stream highlights from yesterday and include some aura stacking clips. Aura stacking is very good with Spark in ultimatums, and if you only do the ultimatums that are, what's it called, that are defend the ritual or kill waves, it is very, very fast, as you will see in the video. Inscribed ultimatums also seem okay, as I literally just hid in a corner and a Spark just killed everything with blast freeze. It's really, really safe because there's no like anti-freeze on any of the inscribed ultimatums. And lastly, I showed a quick Sirus kill with Spark, and it was okay, but it's obviously not ideal. Sirus's arena is definitely not that strong for Spark. And here's a Trialmaster clip. It's pretty funny if you watch it with sound. So now I'm gonna play the clips, and yeah, hope you enjoy the stream highlights. Click on the icon to invite them automatically rather than having to like right click invite them. So right now, like, I'm in a busy fight, right? And I want to invite these people so they don't leave. So I click here, and then I'm able to do it. And now they're in my party. And when I finish this, sick AFK build, dude. This is like the opposite of RSI. This is how you get like your risk to be too good. See, I invited another person now. Dude, Inscribed ultimatums are the best.
Take your prize and go. You will long for non-existence, everlasting fire.
Dude, I get the crown every single time. I have very bad news for this person. This is a very bad arena for you, Trialmaster. Probably one of the worst arenas you could possibly find me in.
Temptation for the fool. A second
No,
victory
what?
in a row was
How
not
did
on the
it?
cards for you, it seems.
Yeah. So after seeing the clips, you can see I got trolled by the Trialmaster. I don't know what he did, but he just whooped my ass. But pretty much, I'll be streaming every day on Twitch. You can see how I upgrade this character and what will change. I think it'll get a lot better in terms of ES. I need to get a gloves, the helmet fixed, and then we'll be pretty good. It's kind of crazy that this build is still so strong. I was kind of hesitant. I was switching from BFBB because I thought it'd be really good, but this build pretty much just blows it out of the water. Total cost investment, probably spent like 80 exalts, 60 to 80 exalts on my gear, but you can do it for much cheaper. I would probably say you would need 30 to 40 exalts total to buy everything, as long as you use the more budget items instead of the RMR double multi-jewels. Show you in the next build diary what I mean by the RMR multi-jewels. Just wanted to give like one thing to focus on every video, and this video was definitely the helmet crafting. So anyhow, everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like the content, and let me know if you want me to include anything in the next videos. And be sure to check out my Twitch stream. I stream every day for a good amount of time at the league start. Have a nice day, and I'll see you next time, and hope you find lots of exalts and mirrors in your adventure.